I was walking home from work about 4 p.m. I saw a cartridge sitting on a tombstone. It looked to be a Game Boy cartridge. Curiously, I went to go check it out. Seeing two crows sitting next to the game, cawing at me menacingly, I decided to pick it up and see what it was. The cartridge was gold, which reminded me of those Pokemon games I played as a child. It had to be one. No one game had that cartridge. Glancing at the cartridge, I noticed the label of the game was completely torn off. However, I needed no label to know that this was the right game, so I took it without giving it a second thought. Something that, looking back on it, I regret dearly. On my way home, I ran into an old lady who ran a flower shop. She was watering the plants with a water can as her eyes caught sight of the cartridge that was in my hand. She suddenly dropped the water can, the water splashing all over herself. I could see the veins growing in her forehead, her body trembling as she glared with raw hatred at that cartridge. Her eyes then widened, and with a sheer look of horror, she yelled out. She dashed desperately into her shop, faster than I've ever seen a woman of her age. I got home that day after the rain picked up. As soon as I shut my house door, I heard the thunder cry out from the sky as the storm brewed menacingly outside. I knew there was something different about this day, something unexplainable. Searching my room for the Game Boy, I dusted off my Game Boy Advance, putting the game in the handheld, placing some fresh batteries, and I knew I was ready for a nostalgia trip. I was ready to go on an adventure and capture me some Pokemon. I turned on my Pokemon Gold game to see an image of a flying Ho-Oh, but the image seemed kind of sad. The cry it wailed as I pressed the start button seemed kind of melancholic. I noticed the previous save file was missing. Kind of weird that a Pokemon game went unplayed, especially one this old, but I decided to shrug it off and start a new game. The game started off as normal. I had to name my trainer. I decided to name him Gold. I like keeping to the original name. I started off in the town of Newbark as usual. The game's responses seemed kind of slow, but I can understand due to it being so old. Some of Professor Elm's dialogue was a bit strange, but maybe my memory was just a bit foggy. After taking a second look at the usual starters, I decided to take Cyndaquil. As all of the introductions finally concluded, I took a step out into the first route, and after 10 minutes I couldn't find a single Pokemon. Desperately I tried other patches of grass, hoping for something. Nothing. Was this game glitched? I found it strange, as I remember these older games having a huge encounter rate. So I decided to move on, and maybe I could just fight the first gym leader, Faulkner. My level 5 Cyndaquil hopefully should be okay. But here's where things just became a little weird. Instead of a line of Pokemon trainers waiting to be battled, there was a ghost facing away from me, in place of where Faulkner would normally be. The ghost quickly turned in my direction and vanished almost immediately after I noticed it. As I walked out of the gym, my rival is standing in a very statuesque manner facing me, eyes in my direction, but they seem to stare through me at the gym doors. He cries out, "No! It cannot be!" and darts away. As the music started to play again, I noticed there was a change. It sounded a lot more depressing. It was right here where I realized something was terribly wrong with this game. Looking up to see what time it was, there was a loud bang outside which sounded like a transformer blowing, and all the power just shut off. Now it was just me and the light emitting from my Game Boy Advance. Looking back at my Pokemon game, I had no choice but to trudge through this and hope it gets better. Clearly, this was no ordinary Pokemon game. Confused, I decided to go on as normal onto the ruins of Alph. On the way there in Route 32, I randomly encountered a Jigglypuff somehow. I'm not sure why. After 0 encounters, that I now find a Pokemon, and for some reason, it was only level 1. Considering Jigglypuff isn't normally found here, especially at level 1, I found this very strange. But I'll take what I can get. Upon entering the battle, the Jigglypuff looked slightly deformed and quite sad, like I was about to cry. Scared I might kill it, I decided to just throw a Pokeball at it without attacking, and to my surprise, made a successful capture. Feeling sorry for the thing, I wanted to give it a nickname. However, to my surprise, the option was never given to me. Having finally caught a new Pokemon, I had some hopes for this game. Maybe it was just a few changes and the rest remain intact. Maybe the guy who hacked it was just toying with me for a bit. I'm not sure, but I am happy I finally caught a Pokemon, even if it is only level 1. And with that, I can finally move on to the Ruins of Alph, maybe even catch an unknown. Upon entering the cave, I was immediately brought into a fight with an unknown. Now normally, when you enter the cave, you will see a Kabuto puzzle, but this time I was brought past that and was placed directly into the hallway, and with each step I took, I was ushered into a battle. The first battle, a level 5 unknown, it was the Y variant. I tried to catch one of them, but the Pokeball bounced off of it like it was in some sort of trainer battle. I guess you can't capture these, I figured. The second battle, also level 5, and this one was an O shape. The third, a U. I'm starting to notice they're starting to spell out something. Y-O-U-W-I-L-L-D-I-E. You will die. I was afraid to take another step. After the words had finally been spelled out, what else would I find? Why am I gonna die? Why are these unknown trying to tell me I'm gonna die? It was right here when I was starting to get scared. Should I take another step and see what happens? Or should I just save and quit while I'm ahead? It was right here when I realized I've never saved yet. I decided to open up my menu and save, only to find a message saying, "Error. You will die. You cannot be saved." I took another step, and to no surprise, another encounter. It was a level 75 unknown, in the shape of an exclamation point, except this unknown's cry was much more angry, and his face was matching the cry's anger. Throwing out my level 5 Cyndaquil, I knew I was going to die, just like the game told me. I tried to run, but of course the game told me escape is impossible. Unknown quickly attacked my Pokemon and died. The game told me I was now out of Pokemon, and I was unable to fight. But wait, didn't I catch a Jigglypuff? I was brought back in the Pokemon Center as usual. I opened up my Pokemon list curiously to see what happened. I noticed Jigglypuff had 0 HP. Did I forget to heal him? I'm sure I caught him with some HP. Opening up his stats, his portrait had X's over his eyes. Jigglypuff was dead. But wait, he's dead? Since when can Pokemon die? Just what is this game I'm playing? Is my Cyndaquil gonna die too? Letting it go, I decided to leave the Pokemon Center. Except, I wasn't in Violet City anymore. Strange. I was just in Violet City. But now, I was revived in Mahogany Town. Well, I suppose that this is no stranger than ghosts taking place at Faulkner. Moving on, I told myself. I decided to go check out the Lake of Rage, but before I could even go north, I found a Team Rocket grunt patrolling the route. And without even saying a word, he entered battle with me as I met eyes with him. He threw out a level 62 Grimer. Why wasn't that a muck, though? I have no idea. Throwing out my still level 5 Cyndaquil, it's no surprise that I lost. But instead of whiting out, I was captured by this rocket grunt. It was strange. He never said a word when we met, and he still never said a word to the end. Waking up after getting captured, my Pokemon sprites were in binds, overlooking the Lake of Rage. It said this time, the lake was pure red. Wondering if this was just a glitch, I treaded on until I saw the grunts pushing character models into the lake with a Gyarados avatar jumping up to catch them. Was this a lake of blood? I'm assuming I'm not going to walk away from this with a red Gyarados like I was hoping. I noticed a lot of people were being pushed into the lake were familiar faces from when I played the game. My mom, my rival, even Professor Elm. They were all being pushed into the lake against their will, being fed to this Gyarados like they were lab rats being fed to a snake. I was hoping for my dear life that if I hit enough buttons, I could break free and do something. Each time a character was thrown into the lake, an agonizing cry wailed out, suggesting their complete demise. Finally, it was my turn. Wondering if something would happen, the grunts eventually unwrapped my binds, and sure enough, like I thought, a familiar avatar buzzed into the room. It was the only guy who wore a cape in the game. It was Lance. He came to save the day with his faithful Dragonite. Maybe there was hope for this game. He threw out his Dragonite and began battle against a grunt, who threw out his Grimer. And before the Dragonite could even throw out a single punch, the Grimer ultimately defeated it with one attack. The other grunt threw out a Kadabra and used it to throw the unconscious Dragonite into the lake, the dragon disappearing with a loud cry as it landed. Even Lance is hopeless against the likes of Team Rocket. Finally, they threw me into the lake, but right before I landed in the water, the screen went black. After a while, small words appeared on the screen. Good night. I never want to play that horrible game again. I quickly took the game out of my Game Boy and I put it in a blender. And then I took a sledgehammer to the blender with the Pokemon bits inside of it. And then I put the remnants into a garbage compactor. Then threw the compacted bag into a wood chipper. Hopefully I'll never see that game again. It's been 16 years since I played that game. It's amazing I never told that story until now. This is my first time telling you guys about it. I finally built up the courage to tell my story. I originally made up the story by destroying it, but I only did it so people wouldn't be asking me questions about the game. Where is it now? Do you have proof? Calling me a liar. Well, I'm not a liar. I have photographic proof that I have this game. Here are pictures of me playing this. I'm sorry if these pictures aren't good enough for you, but playing this game just makes me cry. Remembering all those horrible times I had to go through a psychiatrist for 4 years because of that emotional scarring this game had on me. This will probably be the last time I ever talk about it, as each time I do, I break down, and it's hard for me to recuperate. So please, just take heed of my word and watch out for what you play.